Hi, this video was originally created for an in-person workshop that I did at St Joseph's Tea Room, Whitwick, Leicestershire. Please like and subscribe if you want me to do more. Hi, my name's Lisa Noon and I'm the creative behind Crafternoon. I believe creating is good for our mental health, so relax, cozy up to create this autumnal pumpkin with me today. So this is stage 2 now. Now, as I said right at the beginning, I've thought about what I struggled with when I first started, and I've put things in place to hopefully help you not to struggle with the things I struggled with. So these are your chain stitches, these little like V's here. These V shapes here. If I use my scissors I can point better. So these V shapes here are your slip stitches, your chain stitches. Now we don't want to go through this first one here. This first one here. We want to go 1, 2, and we're going to push our hook through. We're going to put our yarn over, and we're going to pull up a stitch. Let me show you that bit again. We're going to go into the second one from the hook. I'll put our hook in. We're going to pull this yarn up. Notice I've still got hold of my work, and that means you've got 2 loops on your hook. We're going to wrap our yarn around and we're going to pull it through both loops, and that's our very first double crochet, and we're using UK terms. I'm going to go to the next gap, the next chain, pull a loop up. Let me show you that again. I'm going to go down into the chain, and my hook, look, is pulling up, wrap it around, 2 double crochets, wrap it around, through, pull up a loop, wrap it around, pull through 2. Next one, pull up a loop, wrap it round, pull through 2. The next chain stitch, pull up a loop, wrap it round, pull up 2. Into the next one, pull up a loop, wrap it round, through 2. There we are. Doing it very slow. Take your time. Now I haven't quite got that where I want it to be. It's better. If in doubt, if you're in class, ask. Now we should have 10 stitches here. So let's look at these little V's. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Oh, there's one there. No, there's a little V there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And that's the first row done. So we are now going to do our first proper row. So that was kind of what we call a foundation row. Now we're going to do our first proper row, but before that, so we know where to turn, I'm going to pop a stitch marker into that stitch that's on my hook. Now the only difficult thing about this next bit is we've got to work through the rear loops. I'm just going to grab my scissors. So if we look here, this here, these here are front loops, and these are the back loops where the V's are. So by working into the back loop, we end up with like a ribbed pattern. So we need to make sure we don't pick up that loose end still. And it's exactly the same stitch, but we're just working into the back loop. So what we're doing is we're putting our hook into that back loop, we're grabbing the yarn, and pulling up a loop. So we've got 2 loops, we're doing a double crochet, UK terms, and then we're going to wrap the yarn around and pull through 2. We'll go to the next one, back loop only. We're going to pull that yarn up, so look, my hook is pulling it from behind. I've got it tucked under my fingers. You might find when you first start that you have to kind of hold it however you feel comfortable. You'll get your own style in the end, and nothing's right or wrong. It just is a bit fiddly at the moment. So I've got 2 hooks, 2 loops there. I'm going to put my wool through, and pull through 2. Next loop, pick up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2. Pick up the back loop, yarn over, pull through 2. And as you get more practiced, you won't have to yarn over like I've been showing you. You can just do it like I've just done, flipping it with my finger. So pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2. And it took me ages to be able to do this. I did a lot of that because I was a knitter, and that's how I used to knit. And then don't forget to get into the back bottom loop. And that's our first row, and you can see the rib that's starting, and we're going to turn our work. Now, so that I know where the end is each time, we're just going to pop a stitch marker in. We'll do 1 more row together. So I'm going to go into that first stitch, the back loop of this one, pull up a loop, yarn over. So I'm basically doing that. Now I can see, look, that there's 3 loops on there and there shouldn't be. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to release it. I'm going to pick up my original stitch and have another go. So what I managed to do was split my yarn. So back 1, pull up a loop, that's better, there's 2 loops, yarn over, pull through 2. Next loop, back loop, pull my yarn up, wrap my yarn around, pull through 2. Now those stitch markers, I've asked you to put them in because it identifies the last stitch of the row, and sometimes when you're doing this they're really hard to find the last stitch. By doing it this way, you're always going to know which the last stitch of your row is. So my last stitch is this one with this marker in here, and as you can see it kind of curls around the edge. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to look for my stitch. Oops. So there's the front of my stitch, and there is the back of my stitch hiding down there. Pull it up, pull through 2, take my stitch marker out and attach it to the stitch, so I know where the end of this row is next time. So I'm going to do this next row and then I will leave you to finish the amount of rows you need. So we're going to go into the back stitch, back of the stitch, pull up a stitch, pull through 2, back stitch, pull up a stitch, through 2, back stitch, pull up a stitch, pull through 2, back stitch, pull up a stitch, pull through 2, back of the stitch, pull up a stitch, through 2, back of the stitch, pull up a stitch, pull through 2. You're getting the idea. Doesn't matter if you have to do it super slowly. I was super slow, and I think the best way to describe the way I started, I was very khaki handed. I hadn't got an absolute scoobies. So look, I've come to this stitch again now. This is the end stitch, but we're looking for this back loop. So can you see it's marking my stitch, but this is the back loop. I'm going to pull up a stitch, pull through two, take my stitch marker off, reattach it so that I know where my row is. Now you need to do, for the small pumpkins, you need to do 18 rows. So I'm going to leave you to get on with the 18 rows, and I'll come back and show you what the next bit is. So we are now at the point where we're just finishing off the last row, and I'm going to show you how to sew it all up. So here goes. So the last couple of stitches, we're going to go in the back, we're going to go into the back loop as we've done before, and then the very last back loop, and instead of turning around, we're just going to pull the end through. We're going to leave ourselves a nice long tail for sewing up. I'm just going to pull it through like that. So we are now going to sew it up. We're going to be using both tails. I use a needle threader. There'll be some around if you're doing the course with me. I've threaded my needle. Now, just in case you lose count of rows, the way you can work out how many rows you've done, each one of these ridges is 2. So 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, and there's my 18. We're going to just put the two ends together, and all we're going to do is we're going to put our needle through, and we're going to go over between one and then the other, one and then the other. So we're just catching the stitches, throwing them to pull it together. I'm just catching the stitches, going from one side there, catching the next one on the other side and pulling it together. Catching. I think the name of this stitch is overcasting, but not sure. We used to call it overstitch when I was at school. So I've got to the end. I'm just going to go to the end and pull through my knot like that to finish that bit off. So that's the inside. The next thing we're going to do with the same loops, with the same thread, is I'm going to just weave it in and out the top. So all I'm doing is I'm going down, up, down, up. So if I did one stitch at a time, it would be down, underneath, oops, and then up another stitch. So down that one, up the next one, like that. But I'm doing it all on the same needle. I'm going down, up. So I'm literally catching a ridge, a ditch, a ridge, a ridge, like that, a ditch, a ridge, a ditch, a ridge. Till I get back to where I started, I'm going to pull it like so to close up the end. And then just to finish closing up the end, if it doesn't pull tight like mine hasn't done, I think I'm just going to pull one more stitch just there. Probably will do it, yeah. But just to make sure that none of my stuffing is going to come out, I'm just going to sew across like so. So I'm just grabbing stitches from either side just to close it all up. Like so. And then I'm going to make sure that my threads end up on the outside. So that one and this one needs to go on the outside, because we're going to need them in a minute. So this one, all I'm doing is pushing it down the hole in the middle, so that when I turn it the right way around in a second, like so, they're just there for me. Get my stuff in. pop it in like so. Like, you'll need more stuffing than you think you'll need to make it nice and plump. And then I'm going to rethread the longer of these two. And because they're on the wrong end, I'm just going to push them back through the middle so I can see what I'm doing. And up the side so it's coming through. So although I pushed it through so I could see what I was doing, if I'd have left it on the inside, it would have got wrapped up in all the stuffing. And you're going to repeat what you did at the bottom. You're going to go up, down, up, down. So I'm going to go up, down, up, down. So in and out, in and out. And this time I'm going to keep giving it a pull every time I've done about 3 or 4 stitches. And I'm just keeping my thumb, all my thumb's doing is keeping the stuffing down while I'm just doing this bit. So we'll get to the point where I can take my thumb out. I should be able to just pull it tight, like so. And again, just so across the hole, just to tighten it up, like so. Okay, do not cut these bits off yet. Okay, and that's your basic pumpkin shape. So I'll see you in the next lesson. Right, so I left you with it like this with my needle on. The next bit we're going to do is we're going to kind of accentuate these ribs. Now if you've got enough, use these ends. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take from, so this is going to be my top and that's going to be my bottom. I'm going to take my thread all the way down the ridge, can you see? So this is your ridge. I'm going to take my thread all the way down the ridge and into the bottom and bring it back out. You'll have to wiggle it around through the stuffing and back up through the top. Because I've used chunky wool for the demo, it's a bit trickier, and you're going to keep doing this. So you're going to go to the next ridge. I'm going to pull it up and bring it out like that. I'm just going to grab that over there. Now obviously I've not got much of this end left, so I'm just going to fasten it off. I'm just going to go through, push it through itself like that. I'm going to rethread it and bury the end into the pumpkin itself. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put it in there and I'm going to bring it out the side and I'm going to push it down, and as I push it down I'm going to cut it. Try not to cut my pumpkin, and that's that end disappeared in the middle. Now I'm going to throw up my next bit. Now you may not have enough wool left on your tails, but we will sort that out. I'll show you how to sort that out if that is the case. So just come back when I have finished the majority of these. So if you don't have enough wool, all you need to do is to either tie a knot like so, or do a couple of stitches over the top, go in the top and bring it all the way through like so. Now this one's quite dense because it's chunky knit, and we'll pull that one off in a minute, and then just carry on as you did before. So all I've done is a knot and carried on as I've done before. So we've got our finished pumpkin. I'm just shaping mine up. So mine's been done with thicker yarn for demonstration purposes and a bigger hook. Yours will be that size. Tiny little dinky pumpkin. So now we need to create this piece here. Okay, you might find that you're going to need to reshape this a little bit because it might have flattened out, but if you just squash it a little bit around the edge, it'll become more pumpkin shaped. I'm going to put that to one side. I'm going to grab my crochet hook again, and we're going to start off like we did before with a slip knot. So I've got the loose end in my hand. I'm going to do my thumb. I'm going to put the loop through the loop like that. So I'm going to make a loop, take it off my thumb, put the bit that's still attached to the board through the loop like that. Once more, around my finger, pull up the loop through there. There we go. We'll put our crochet hook in. I'm going to tuck the loose side under my finger, and I'm going to chain 6. So I'm going to chain 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and 6. Now we're going to go in the first chain from the hook, which is this one here, and we're going to slip stitch. So this is something you haven't done before. So we're going to put our hook in, pull up a loop, and then just slip it through the next one like so. Do on the next one, in the next hole, pull up a loop, slip it over into the next one, pull up a loop, slip it over into the next hole, set, pull up a loop, slip it through until you've got your stem like that. Now, as before, I'm going to cut my end off, pull it all the way through like that. Now you could tie a knot there to secure it if you wanted, but we're going to sew it to this, so we could kind of just tie a knot like so, and another one just to secure it, but that's completely optional. I'm going to grab my needle, and I'm now going to sew it onto my pumpkin. So threading my needle is a bit of a pain with this chunky wool because I needed a pointy needle, but it's not really big enough. So here we go. We're going to grab a little bit of our pumpkin thread round about the middle, so a couple of bits of stitch like so, and pull it till we get to the stem, and then we're going to sew through the stem and the stitch we've grabbed up. Let's get it so you can see what I'm doing. So I'm going through the stem and the stitch. I'm going to do that a couple of times just to make sure it's secured, and I'm going to do what we've done before. I'm going to put it through there, and then I'm going to hide this into my pumpkin. Like that, and then I'm going to push it down so that when I let go of my pumpkin it springs back, my thread disappears. That's a bit for the rubbish, and then we're going to use our other thread to secure it upright a bit more. Thread it in. Must be really boring watching me thread a needle. There we are. I think that'll do. And I'm going to go the opposite side to where I went before. I'm going to grab some more stitches. And then this time again, I'm going to go through the stem to secure it. And this time I'm going to pull it around again. I'm going to go through a few more stitches and then through the actual stem itself. And again, a few more stitches and through the stem. And then I'm just going to join it up, make it a bit neater with the original green bit of the stem that I sewed to start with. She says giving it a tug. like that. What it does is it kind of makes it a circle. I'm going to put my needle in. Oops, before I put my needle in, I'm just going to pull that through there, loop it up. Now it's come unthreaded. Same again, I'm going to push it through my pumpkin side, push my pumpkin down like so, cut it off and bring it out like that. And that is my finished pumpkin, like so. So this is the big size that I've done with the chunky, and that's the one you're going to be doing with the double knit.